A heartbreaking tragedy has just unfolded as one of the stars of the legendary series King of the Hill was shot and killed just weeks before the show is scheduled to make a comeback. Jonathan Joss, the voice behind John Redcorn on King of the Hill, was tragically shot and killed in San Antonio this past Sunday evening. The 56-year-old was found with multiple gunshot wounds on Dorsey Drive around 7 p.m., and despite emergency efforts, he was pronounced dead at the scene. Police arrested Sigfredo Alvarez Ceja, also 56, shortly after he fled the scene. Ceja has been charged with murder, and new details are emerging about what led to this tragic confrontation. According to neighbors who spoke with TMZ, tensions between Jonathan Joss and Alvarez Ceja had been building for years. The two men reportedly had a history of both verbal and physical altercations, and police had been called to deal with disputes involving Joss multiple times before his house burned down. Here's what apparently happened on Sunday, according to reports. Jonathan Joss had returned to his burned-out property to collect a victim's fire fund check. While he was there, he discovered the skeleton of one of his dogs that had died in the February fire. Neighbors say finding the pet's remains sent Joss into a rage, and he reportedly started yelling at people in the area. That's when the confrontation with Alvarez Ceja, who lives just 2 doors down, began. Shortly after their argument, Alvarez Ceja allegedly drove over and shot Jonathan Joss before fleeing the scene. For those who grew up watching King of the Hill, Jonathan Joss brought John Redcorn to life from Season 2 all the way through Season 13. He took over the role after the original voice actor Victor Aaron passed away in 1996. Joss made the character memorable and gave him layers that went beyond what you typically expect in an animated series. What makes this tragedy even more heartbreaking is that Joss had just finished recording new episodes for the King of the Hill revival, coming to Hulu this August. He even appeared in promotional material, driving John Redcorn's classic tan Jeep. Just days before his death, Jonathan Joss was also at the ATX TV Festival in Austin, talking about the show's return with fans and fellow cast members. Beyond King of the Hill, Joss had a recurring role on Parks and Recreation and appeared in Tulsa King, Ray Donovan, True Grit, and The Magnificent Seven. He consistently brought authenticity to indigenous characters in an industry that often struggles with representation. This year had already been incredibly difficult for Jonathan Joss. His childhood home in San Antonio burned down in February after he used a barbecue grill to heat the house. Joss said he had to resort to this dangerous heating method because the city had shut off his power, declaring the home unsafe and uninhabitable. The fire killed 3 of his dogs and destroyed everything he owned, including his car. Neighbors told TMZ that Joss would sometimes do unusual things, like bang pans on his roof in the middle of the night, and his outbursts had become a regular occurrence that concerned people in the area. Though the community rallied around him for a GoFundMe campaign that raised over $10,000 to help him rebuild. Jonathan Joss took pride in bringing Native American voices to mainstream television. He's survived by his husband, Tristan Curran de Gonzalez, and leaves behind a legacy of meaningful work that will live on forever. The timing of this tragedy is particularly heartbreaking. Jonathan Joss was about to see his most famous character return to television after more than a decade. Fans who were looking forward to hearing John Redcorn's voice will now be watching those final episodes, knowing they represent his last work, taken way too soon. What is your favorite episode of King of the Hill that featured John Redcorn? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.